Good morning, all. Today's our topic is sphenoid bone. Sphenoid bone resembles a pet with outstretched wings. It comprises a body in the center. The lesser wings from the anterior part of the body, and the greater wing is the lateral part of the body. Two parotid process directed downwards from the junction of the body and greater wings. Body of the sphenoid. It comprises six surfaces and encloses a pair of the sphenoidal air sinus, sphenoid, superior and cerebral surfaces. There is one jugular sphenoidal sulcus, chymuscus, and tuberculum celli, sella turcica, dorsum celli, and clavus. Refer to the middle cranial fossa for detail. This is the figure of the sphenoid bone. Now inferior surface, rostrum of the sphenoid coccage, vaginal process of the medial periodical plate, referred to the norma vajalis from detail. Anterior surface, sphenoidal creates articulates with the perpendicular plate of the ithmoid bone to the front of small part of the septum of nose. An opening sphenoidal air sinus is seen. Now, posterior surface. It articulates with the basilar part of the occipital bone and lateral surface. Carotid sulcus, a border where a broad grooves curved like letter F for lodging cavernous sinus and internal carotid artery. Below the sulcus, it articulates with greater wings of the sphenoid laterally and pterygoid process which is directed downwards. Now sphenoidal air sinus. These are the symmetrical air sinuses in the body of the sphenoid. Now greater wings. These are the two strong processes which curved laterally and upwards from the side of the body. Superior or cerebral surface. First, foramen rectum, random foramen, ovali emissaries, sphenoidal foramen, and foramen sphenism. Our lateral surface, the horizontal ridge, the infratemporal crest divided into the surface with an upper and upper or temporal surface, and the lower or infratemporal surfaces. Now orbital surface forms the posterior wall of the lateral wall of the orbit. Its medial border bear a small tubercle for attachment of the common attending rings from the origin of erective muscles of the eyeball. Now lesser wings. Lesser wings are two triangular plates projection laterally from the anterosuperior plate of the body. First, a base forming middle end of the wings, a tip from the lateral end of the wings, and superior surface forming floor anterior cranial fossa, inferior superior foramen, upper boundary of superior orbital fissure. Anterior border articulates with the posterior border of the orbital plate of the frontal bone. Now, posterior border is free and projection to stem of the lateral surface of brain. Superior orbital fissures. It is triangular gap through which middle cranial fossa communicates with the orbit. The pterygoid process, one pterygoid process on each side projects downwards from the junction of the body with the greater wing of the sphenoid. Now this is the figure of the posterior view, and another is a greater wing or lesser wing of a sphenoid. Now ethmoid bone. Ethmoid is a very light cuboidal bone situated anterior of the base of the cranial cavity between the two orbits. Part of the medial orbit's wall, part of the nasal septum, and the septum and over part of the roof of the orbit. Lateral walls of the nasal cavity. An ethmoidal bone comprise cerebriform plate and perpendicular plates, a pair of the labyrinthine. Now, Cubiform plate. It is a horizontal plate, bony lamina, occupying ethmoid notch and frontal bone. Cristagilla is a medial tooth-like upward projection in the floor or anterior cranial fossa. And perpendicular plate, it is a thin lamina projecting downwards from the under surface of the cuneiform plate. Labyrinthines. These are two light cuboidal masses situated on each side of the perpendicular plate. Now, this is the figure of the bone. The process surface articulate with the femoral concha to complete posterior ethmoidal air sinus. Superior surface articulate with the orbital plate of the frontal bone. Inferior surface articulate with the nasal of the maxilla. Lateral surface from the medial wall of the orbit. Medial surface presents small superior nasal concha. Now, vomer. Vomer is a single thin plate bone forming posterior-inferior part of the nasal septum. It is comprised right and left surface marked by the nasoplatinum. Now, superior border splits into the two ali with the grooves. The anterior border articulates with the nasal crest and the maxilla. The anterior longest border articulates with the perpendicular plate of the ethmoidal bone. Now, posterior border is free and separate into the two posterior nasal opening. Now, into a nasal concha. The inferior nasal concha are two curved bony lamina. These are horizontally placed in the lower part of lateral wall of the nose. Between the concha and floor of the nose lies in the inferior meatus of the nose. It is comprised two surfaces, two border and two ends. Middle concave surface is marked by vascular grooves, and lateral concave surface is formed the medial wall of inferior meatus of the now superior border is irregular and articulates with maxilla, lacrimal, ethmoid, and retina bone. And inferior border is free, thick, and spongy. Posterior end is more mounted in the interband. Now, this is the figure of the vomer. Now, zygomatic bone. These are two small quadrilateral bone present in the upper and of lateral part of the face. The bone forms prominence of the cheeks. Each bone takes part in the formation of floor and lateral wall of the orbit, walls of the temporal and infraorbital fossa. Zygomatic bone comprise three surfaces, five borders, and two processes. Surface, lateral surface presenting zygomatic facial foramen. Temporal surface is smooth and concave and present zygomatic-temporal foramen. Now, orbital surface is also smooth and concave in the zygomatic-orbital foramen. Now, borders. Anterosuperior, or it is orbital. Anteroinferior, it is called maxillary. Posterior-inferior, it is called temporal border. Posterior-inferior border and posteromedial border. Processes. Frontal process and temporal process, which are directed upwards and which are directed one directed backward. Now, nasal bone. Nasal bone are too small along with bones which form the bridge of the nerve. Each nasal bone has two surfaces and four boundaries. Surface. Outer surface concave, convex, and inner surface concave. Now, border. Superior border is thick and serrated. Inferior border is thin and notched. And middle border articulates with the opposite nasal bone, and lateral border articulates with the frontal process of maxilla. This is the figure of nasal bone. Now, the borders. Anterior border articulates with the process of the maxilla. Posterior border with the orbital plate of the ethmoid. Superior border with the frontal bone, and inferior border with the orbital surface of maxilla. Now, platina bone. The platina bone are Patina bones are two L-shaped bones present in the posterior nasal cavity and lateral wall of the cavity, roof of the mouth, and the floor of the orbit. Parts of the peritoneum, each plate is one, two plate and three fibers. Now the horizontal plate forms the posterior one fourth part of the body plate and superior perpendicular plates of the platina bone is along in shape and comprised to the surfaces. Now three processes pyramidal process project downwards from the junction, orbital process upward and lateral from the perpendicular plate, and middle process presents projection upwards and medially from the perpendicular plate. Now the remaining bone is lacrimal bone. Lacrimal bone is extremely delicate, small and skull bone. These are from the anterior part of the medial part of the orbit. Surface is lateral and medial. Lateral or orbital surface is divided into posterior and lacrimal crest and anterior posterior part. And medial nasal surface from the part of the medial meatus of nose. Now the hyoid bones is a U-shaped. It developed from the second and third bronchial arch. It is situated in the anterior medial of the neck and between the thyroid bone. At rest, it lies at the level of the third cervical vertebrae. It is kept suspended position by the muscles and the ligament. The hyoid bone previously provide attachment of the muscles of the floor of the mouth and the tongue above, with the larynx below and epiglottis and pharynx behind. The bone consists of the central part called the body and two pairs of cornea and greater and lesser body in the anterior posterior surface of the upper and lower border. This is the figure of the. Now the attachment anterior surface concave, posterior surface convex and concave. Greater cornea. There are flattened two above downwards laser cornea. The small concave process bone which projects upward from the junction of the body greater cornea. Attachment of the first is gnuhyoid and mylohyoid, upper border and thyroid membrane, and lower border parental fascia and sternohyoid and mylohyoid laterally below the thyroid hyoid, and the medial border the thyroid and the xyloid muscles and digestive villi. Lateral border investigation fascia. The lesser cornea provide attachment to the xyloid ligament and medial structures. Now development upper part of the lesser cornea development from the second bronchial arch. The clinical anatomy in a suspected case of a murder, fracture of the hyoid bone strongly indicates throttling or strangulations.